Hi guys, welcome to episode 6, our last episode of Brocanting Spots and Confit Pots by Honeysuckle and Roses with James and Lizzie. So, our last episode, James, episode 6. How does that feel?
But only our last episode of this series.
Yeah.
It feels fantastic. I feel absolutely blown away by how much support we've had. Thank you guys so much for watching. And it looks like, with the amount of people that have been smashing that buyacoffee.com/honeysuckle and roses link, we're really close to being able to do a second series. That would be really exciting.
Amazing.
So please, if you've been thinking about it and haven't, do hit that.
That'd be amazing.
And donate. Also, do hit us up with people that you think you'd like to have on here, if there are particular topics or subjects that you'd like us to talk about. Because, we've got a blank sheet of paper at the moment for series number 2. But
exciting times.
We were trying to work out what to call this final episode. And in classic Clint Eastwood style, we come up with the good, the bad and the ugly of Brocanting.
Yeah, I know. I know, it kind of covered it really, because there were sort of things we wanted to talk about.
There was stuff that we haven't talked about that we thought, we kind of need to put that in there.
Yeah.
When we were talking it through, Liz just seemed to come up with more of the bad and the ugly side of it. And I'm like, but it's called the good, the bad and the ugly. We need to start with some good stuff. So, tell people the best thing about what we do.
Why we love what we do. So we've touched on this in previous episodes, but just the freedom of working for ourselves is awesome. I think having both worked in companies where your time is really governed by someone else, who tells you when you can have holidays, when you can leave early, your lunchtime, when you can have your lunch, all of those things. To making those decisions for yourself, it was really freeing. And I just think even now, sometimes we'll drive through France and can't quite believe that we get to do this for a living, and make money from it. I love driving. That's I'm quite happy doing all the driving. There are times where I get tired, but I just love driving through the beautiful French countryside. Just seeing the beautiful scenery, the lovely villages, the beautiful architecture that there is in France. We get to see that from our work vehicle.
And we get paid to do it.
And it's just lovely being able to travel. James doesn't like flying. So this is for us, being able to drive to another country, experience a new culture. And the French people have just been so lovely to us. We've made some proper friends out there who we communicate on a social level as well as business, and that's really special to us.
When you get invited to stay at someone's house for lunch, and their wife comes home from work and joins you,
and we have lunch. Cheese, and the wife, I remember that. Do you remember that? It was so funny. The lady owned a cheese shop, the wife, and they were so lovely. They invited us for lunch, and she came home with all this beautiful cheese, and James proceeded to start cutting the cheese. And she started to look quite anxious, and I wondered what was wrong.
Apparently, I was cutting it like a caveman.
Yes, James got quite sharply told off for messing up her beautiful cheese.
No, you don't cut the cheese like this.
Can I show you?
Let me show you.
And she showed, and it cut it beautifully. But there are times where we have gone to people's houses, and it's turned into like this beautiful banquet, really, of food. And we've come to buy, and we don't know them, but then it just feels like we are friends, and they bring out this food and more food and more
wine.
food.
I really like it when they bring out the wine, because Liz drives, so I can drink the wine, which is really quite pleasant.
Yeah.
In most places.
Yeah, and some homemade What was that
Ooh.
you've been given before?
Oh.
Was it homemade gin or something?
I don't know. That was the guy who we went in there and they were axe throwing in.
I don't remember that.
They had
Are you sure?
He had a blowpipe, and he was going. What? And they had the brocante in the side of the cave. Do you remember?
No.
We sat outside their house. That was the place we sat outside their house. It was moonshine, basically. He gave me. They were outside the house. We were sat outside. We phoned them, and they were in town. And they came back and opened up, and we recognised them from one of the fairs.
Yes, I remember now.
And he had an area, and he's like, "Well, have a go at this." And he picked up these axes and started throwing them at the wall.
Yeah,
and then he had this blowpipe with
the drink
with darts in it.
Yeah, the drink would be flowing. So we made our purchases and left quite quickly, didn't we? But it was.
I was slightly terrified. To be fair.
We have loads of experiences like that, and just the friendliness and the hospitality of people in France. It's just something that we've really, it's been amazing.
I think the fact also that it allows you to do something that is a passion of yours,
Yeah.
We got into this because you liked French styling, right? And we went to fairs like the Country Brocante, the Dorset Brocante, Wisborough Green. We went to these fairs as punters, as visitors. And we bought stuff from there.
Yeah.
And now we get to go around France and buy similar stuff to this.
Yeah.
To sell to other people who were like us when we went in as customers.
It's amazing.
And,
And now we're, it's just incredible when you think about, and we've said this already, but where this has come from a free holiday, a gifted holiday, very kindly by friends of ours.
I think we should mention Tom and Rachel again. Just give them another shout out because they are awesome.
And we've created this business where we get to call the shots, and that is just lovely. So that is really why we love what we do, the freedom it brings.
So a question we get asked a lot when we're at fairs is, do you go back to places more and more? And where are your favourite places to go? And how would you answer that?
So we, I would say, the brocantes over in France, we do love to visit new ones mainly. So there are times where we won't go back, not because it was awful, but just because every time we go, we like to experience new places and find new brocantes. But there are a select few that have really hit the spot and we just love, and they will always be on our return list. I got to be honest, they tend to be the ones where there aren't many other Brits around. So some of the fairs have become very popular with fellow dealers, which is amazing. They found them too. But there gets to a point where we're like, okay, I think let's go somewhere else. And there's been times where we've driven over on the train with a fellow dealer who's spotted us in the window, sort of beamed as if to say, we know where you're going. And then they go off one direction and we're like, bye, and go off the other direction because we know where they're off to. And so we're going this way.
And then we see them 3 weeks later and they go,
where did you go?
We didn't see you.
Yeah, where did you go? No, we didn't go there. And so we like to mix it up. And that's good for us. We love to explore new places, new markets, have new favourites that are on our list. It's good to do that. It's good to explore and to mix it up.
So is there a region that you like to visit more than anywhere else?
Yes, there is. So actually, it's not too far from where this all started. So in the Champagne region, we went to a market and met who isn't a friend of ours, who shall remain nameless, but a friend of ours who was selling beautiful champagne baskets. Now, some of you might have seen these. They're huge, big wicker baskets that were used to carry or harvest grapes in the vineyard. And they are stunning. They often have initials on. And they're just beautiful. They make such stunning log baskets, Christmas tree baskets. And we bought a huge, big stack of these baskets from him. And James was clever enough to take his details. And I don't know, that it was a long time ago.
Was
6 years?
2017, I
Yeah.
think we first met him.
Yeah. And we are frequent visitors to him, and he is the most loveliest guy. He's one of our favorites. And actually, this is a classic example, this lovely basket here, which you can see in shots. This is a champagne bottle basket. So it has sections inside and is used for carrying bottles of champagne. It's a really lovely piece. It has history to it. Very often these will have initials on the front as well. And they're just beautiful pieces. I love styling them with gypsophilia. I think that looks lovely. But I have a couple, and I'll put one in one room and another in another corner somewhere else. They just are a really rustic addition, but they're not. There's so many repros around these days. This has history. It has provenance. It's from the Champagne region. And so we visit this guy regularly. We pick up champagne crates, which are wooden boxes, large wooden boxes. Again, they're great for Christmas trees. We use ours for Christmas trees. They look amazing in them.
When you say we use ours, we live in quite a small house. How many of these boxes might we have?
We have 2, don't we? So we have a red one for one room, and I'm trying to persuade James that maybe we use the other one. We have 2 Christmas trees, but he's not keen. But I'll work on him. It'll be fine. So we pick up a selection of things from him, which trugs, which we use for harvesting the grapes, wooden trugs. So good. He's become one of our favourites to visit in the Champagne region. He sends us pictures regularly.
Yeah, I think we must get pictures from him at least once a week.
Yeah.
I think he goes out at the weekend, buys a load of stuff, takes a load of pictures, sends it to us, and says, "Can you ask Lizzie if she wants any of these?" Yeah. He's clever enough to know there's no point asking me whether we want them.
He knows.
It's all about whether Lizzie wants them.
Yeah, he knows. He's so lovely. And
what other stuff? So basically anything kind of wine related, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, it all tends to be, that's what his focus is on, is the Champagne region, bottle racks, that kind of thing.
We have picked up pieces of furniture from him as well.
Yeah, we picked up some beautiful furniture recently.
Which is lovely. And I heard a rumour that you might be putting this basket up for sale on the website.
Yeah, so if you like to look on the website, you might find this basket will be for sale. Available on our website. We only pick the ones that we love the best, that are in as best condition. Yeah. Obviously, these are working pieces, so there might be imperfections. I think it's to be expected when things are quite old. But yeah, these will be available, but once they're gone, we don't know when we'll get more in. So if you are keen, I would say now's your opportunity on those.
We talked about the good, including these lovely baskets.
Yeah.
Should we put the bad and the ugly together as kind of one section?
Okay, so what would you say is a bad then, James?
Well, rather than call it bad, let's call it some challenges. That sounds better, doesn't it? Let's be slightly more positive. There are challenges to what we do, right? Number 1, Brexit.
Yeah.
Okay. When we first started, it wasn't even a thing. Nobody had even thought about it.
In the good old days.
Yeah, in the good old days. So when we started doing this in 2015, it wasn't even...
No.
It was rattling around and, but there was no referendum, etc., etc. So yeah, things have changed. So there is a myriad of paperwork for us now with what we do. There's also the Schengen Shuffle.
Yes.
Where you can only be in a Schengen country for 90 days in a rolling 180-day period.
But we get a lot of questions. How are you able to stay out in France so long, like so often, with the restrictions on how many days? But we do keep an eye on it, and it is a rolling thing. So James is really careful on making sure that we are within the amount of time that we're allowed.
The thing is, 180 days is a 6-month period, right? To be out there for 90 days, we would have to be out there every other day, or we'd have to be out for a week every other week.
Yeah.
And we're not.
No.
It's,
it might look like it, but we're really not.
But even in the height of season where we might be out every 10 days, we're only out there for maybe 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
We're not out there for that period. So
they are just to be aware, guys, that they are setting up big areas at Folkestone and Calais where they are going to be checking these things and keeping a lookout on these things.
It's new passport control areas.
Yeah.
Where it'll all be done biometrically.
Yeah.
So they will catch overstayers.
Yeah. So I can't see how this is going to affect many of us. But we have been asked the question because it always looks like we're out there all the time.
And there was that one time recently where a guy had misread your passport and thought you'd been out for 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah, because now when you come back in, they put stamps on your passport, and one stamp was sort of at the beginning of the passport, and another stamp was at the end, and it threw him.
He couldn't find the one that matched.
It took him ages. He sort of said, "You do realise you're not meant to be here for very long. You've only got a certain amount of time." We're like, yeah, we know.
We've been here for 3 days.
Yeah, it was.
So, but yeah, so the language barrier.
Yeah.
Is
it's a thing.
It's
a thing.
It's a thing. The distance is also a thing.
Yeah.
For some people, that's more of a thing than for others.
I would always recommend, if you can, stay up north to begin with, explore, enjoy it, and then as you sort of get a grip on what you want, what you have to do, then you can look further afield. That would be my advice. But yeah, France is a big country, isn't it? It's huge. I mean, we will drive for 7 or 8 hours, and we love that, but it is tiring. And especially as James doesn't do the driving, I do all the driving. It's a big country to travel across.
So pace yourself and look after yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And bear in mind also, you have to remember that there are tolls. So if you want to go anywhere quick, then you need to use the motorways, the auto routes, and they all have tolls on, and it adds up very quickly. And James and I used to pay as you go. So obviously when you rock up at the till, at the toll.
It's like a till. It's like a till because it takes all your money.
Yeah. We'd rock up. We'd generally have a bit of an argument at the toll because James wasn't doing it quick enough.
Where's the money? Quick, there's all these people behind me.
Behind James, there's people behind. And that would be really funny. And it was always a bit traumatic when you get to the tolls. And then we discovered the tag, and that is just,
it's changed our life.
It's amazing because you rock up and it goes beep. And the barrier comes up and you just drive through. Sometimes you don't even need to stop. But the downside to that is you get a hefty bill. And when we're doing as much driving as we are, it really adds up. And our bills have been high. Sometimes, so if we're doing a couple of trips a month, sometimes we get toll bills that are like €400. It feels a lot.
Yeah.
So again, you've got to bear that in mind with your profits. If you're buying to sell, that really does eat into your profits.
I remember, I think it was our second trip that we were out, and there are specific lanes for tag at the tolls.
Oh.
And we didn't have a tag at this point.
No.
And somebody may have driven into the tag
lane by mistake
and
tried to
put the ticket in. And all there was one.
There was a French guy behind, and I've never had someone be so angry with me in my life. Oh, he screamed at me. He was furious. So after that, of course, I never used a tag lane again until we got the tag ourselves. But
it's one of those things you only do once.
You only do it once.
You look back, it was really funny at the time. A little bit traumatic. But, it is weather dependent as well.
Yes.
What we do. So, you have to be careful. You have to look at where the weather is. And we've said in a previous episode that sometimes we will drive from one side of the country to the other. But we're a little bit crazy like that. But, with all the costs that are incurred, sometimes you have to just do that.
It's interesting because with the weather, there are some fairs that you will rock up at, and they will have the gazebos out, and they'll just carry on as normal. But if they're small brocantes, it can quite easily become a washout, and you'll rock up and actually there's no one there. So if the weather looks like it's going to be bad all day, I just wouldn't worry about the markets that day. Maybe if it's a Saturday, maybe go on the Sunday. But you just keep an eye on that. If it's a shower, people will just put tarps or covers over and then just continue as normal.
The best site for that is meteo.fr, which is the French version of kind of their weather station, basically.
To be honest, we are fair weather brocanters too. we literally, if it's raining, we will do other things. There's no point in us going around markets. Yeah, we'll look for other ways. We might make appointments to see friends or dealers instead. We just make it work because it really isn't worth doing that.
So I think we've kind of covered the bad things, or the challenges, as I like to call them. But there are some ugly things about what we do. And I think I'd kick off by saying tiredness.
The tiredness is real. Oh, the tiredness is real. James is not good when he is tired. Oh, it's not good. And neither am I, to be honest. It's quite...
the really good thing is I've now got this on video.
Yeah.
Her admitting to the fact that she's not good.
It's quite an interesting dynamic because we went from obviously working our own jobs to working and living together. And that is a big shift. So it has taken some navigating. And, when you throw tiredness into the mix too, it can be interesting. So, yeah, it's one of those things we have to deal with. I think like with anything, when you're tired, everything seems tough.
And I think one of the things that we try to do to combat that is that we will always try to stay in hotels.
Yeah.
Now, there are people who will sleep in their van. And I think, there are times when we do, because there are fares which are in the middle of nowhere and they start really early in the morning. By the time you stayed in the hotel, it's a bit of a waste of money. However,
there aren't many of those.
As we have got older,
yeah,
we need to get at least 4 or 5 hours sleep.
It's important for us and our marriage that we stay in a hotel. And it's not anything flashy. Occasionally we will splash out and we'll go somewhere a bit nicer. But usually it's Ibis Styles because you get your breakfast free.
Or Ibis Budget.
Or Ibis, sometimes even Ibis Budget or just a standard Ibis. It just depends. But yeah, sometimes it might be a Mercure. We enjoy it. We like staying there. Novotel sometimes. They vary widely. Just to be aware, don't they, James? They really do.
Yeah.
Sometimes
they say they're a 3-star hotel, and sometimes they're like a 5-star hotel, and sometimes they're like 40 towers.
Yeah, it's really, really bizarre how different.
In fact, sometimes we do get some real surprises at hotels, don't we? Like that one in Montargis where we stayed, and I think Basil Fawlty was actually on reception.
Yeah.
He was just like, it was like talking to a French version of Basil Fawlty. He was just so confused.
But then there's a lovely hotel in Lille, and there's a guy, Matthew, who he works the night shift, so we'll often rock up late at night and he'll be on there and he'll go, Mr. and Mrs. Batterby. He remembers our names, and I have left extra towels in your room, and you have the coffee machine, and and he knows, and it's like an old friend. He's just so lovely.
And he was
in the morning when we leave for the Brocants, he
insists on taking the cups, doesn't he?
He takes our travel cups and he fills it, and we haven't paid for it, but we haven't paid for breakfast. He fills our cups with hot coffee
and gives us croissants.
Yes, and he had a bag of croissants. We haven't paid for breakfast. Take it. So lovely, really good.
But he was the first hotel we ever stayed in France.
Yeah,
was the Mercure in Le Cannes by the airport in Lille. And I don't know, we've been staying there 8 years now, and I say to him, Matthew, please call me James. And Lizzie goes, okay, Mr. James. and I'm like, no, just call me James. He goes, no, Mr. James is fine.
Yeah, he's so lovely. But hotels are important to us, and that it's a necessity for our sanity that we stay at a hotel, and we look after ourselves. And I would say that that's important.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that can be ugly sometimes is when there are problems with ferries or Eurotunnel.
Yeah.
And
we had that recently, didn't we?
Whilst we love Eurotunnel,
yeah,
and it is great when it goes right, or it can be horrendous when it goes wrong.
Yeah, hours.
hours and hours and hours.
Yeah. Doesn't happen often, but we had it recently, and
probably,
it was
probably 3 or 4 times a year, I would say.
when you've driven hours, because we'd driven, I think, 6 or 7 hours
to get there,
and then we just sitting and waiting. And that's you go through first and you get your hanger, and then you have to go in and wait for your letter to be called. And we were waiting hours, and I always find going through the checks stressful, and it's not because we're hiding anything or we've done anything wrong, but I just worry that have we got everything? Is everything okay? So that felt like that was elongated for about like 6 hours. It wasn't that long, but it felt a long time. It was,
and it always feels longer. And I think on that, it's always worse in the summer.
Yeah,
because even though they know lots of people are there, the trains are getting quite old. Mechanical problems,
there's been quite
electrical
a few problems recently.
Yeah, so but it's almost like you would think that they know that they're getting there, so they'd maybe fix them. I don't know. Maybe I'm just oversimplifying things.
Obviously, if you're traveling, bear in mind the term times. It's really important to bear in mind because they'll always be busy around the holiday period. You will always be waiting longer. This time of year you'll probably sail through, but come summer, there are going to be delays. So just bear that in mind.
However, what I would say, and I think this is a great way to end our podcast series, is that the positives far outweigh the negatives.
Definitely.
And I don't think we'd change what we do.
No.
For all the tea in China.
No.
Or other countries.
No.
We absolutely love it.
Yeah.
It's the best job in the world.
It is. Especially when the sun's shining.
Absolutely. And we're so lucky. We're so lucky to do what we do. And we really appreciate that. And I think, one of the things we get said is like, oh, you must be really lucky to do what you do. And I would say, yeah, we are. We are really lucky.
But we work hard.
We do work hard. And people don't see the 4 o'clock starts.
No.
And the markets where it's toys and clothes and
the ropey hotels
and Basel 40 hotels. But
it's all part of it. It's all part of the fun. Like, actually, they're all experiences.
If we hadn't had those experiences, we wouldn't have quite as much to say on these podcasts.
No.
So
it all makes for good stories.
Just want to say thank you so much, guys, for listening and watching this series. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button to see when Series 2 is coming. To ensure Series 2 does come, we'd love you to hit the buymeacoffee.com/honeysuckle and roses link. We've been blown away by the amount of support that we've had, the messages that we've had on Instagram, the comments that we've had on YouTube. So again, massive thank you. We just really have had a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, it's been so exciting to do something so different and so new. We're really looking forward to Series 2.
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with an update very soon.
Brilliant.
Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.